Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 20, season 4 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the season. Welcome back, Richie. Origin's been decided already, as I expected, and we got to watch a decent round of NRL, including a massive Warriors win over those dismal Dragons. First of all, how was your weekend, and what did you think of the round?
Evening, Brad. My weekend was very good, thanks. Hope yours was as well. I really enjoyed the round, minus State of Origin, of course. Not that I didn't think it would go that way. I tipped Queensland, but you kind of wish it would be a little more competitive. But yeah, obviously the Warriors game was a massive high for the weekend. So long may that continue.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of State of Origin and Round 17 with an update on our tips. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as questions we've prepared for each other. We'll then preview round 18 and make our picks before ending the night with a recap of Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump straight into the top stories, Richie.
No. We discussed this pre-show. Okay, so folks, we have a new rule this time. If you would like us to stop the show and answer your question there and then and not wait for the Q&A section, you can do so. But you have to use Super Chat on YouTube, which basically send us some money. And we will, that will go towards help supporting the show. And then we will stop the show there and then and answer your question. So that's your way to have some control and become the editor of the show rather than waiting for the Q&A section.
All right. So after the pause plug, we'll get on with it now.
I might donate to myself, actually.
First bit of news came out, as always happens, the day after our show last week. It may have changed our tipping predictions as well, but Justin Holbrook has become the second coach to be fired this season, leaving the Titans effective immediately, with Jim Linehan taking over as interim coach until Des Hasler takes on the role in 2024. Your thoughts, Richie? I know Holbrook's come out and said he felt blindsided by the news, but what's your take on the Titans sacking him?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, they had a poor year last year. The year before, he coached them to 8th place, and they squeaked into the playoffs. They've had one win this weekend just gone, and now they're back in they're in the 8 again. So it's not like he had them too far off the money. But apparently, I think he had some KPIs that the club wanted him to sort of hit by this stage of the season, and obviously not quite there yet. Yeah, so she's a tough business.
Yep, that's right. I think it is a bit harsh, but clearly something needs to change with the Titans. I think their biggest problem is their defense, and that is something, even though they did okay last year, they still had that issue with the defense. That hasn't changed at all. So bringing Des in, does that help fix it? Who knows? It all depends which Des you get. If you get the Seagulls Des or if you get the Bulldogs one.
Yeah, true.
So time will tell. Holbrook does say that he still wishes to be a coach in the NRL. I'm sure someone's going to end up picking him up as an assistant. He's got talent, so it's not like he's going to be off to the media or off doing a trade job or something. So I expect to see him still there somewhere. And, you know, there's always 2 or 3 coaches sacked every year, so he's always going to get a shot at offering his hand up to do another job soon. So good luck wherever he ends up. We may as well move on to the next one.
Yep.
Jerome Luai, fan favorite of the show. He got in some drama after posting on social media after the New South Wales defeat. Chill, all your idiots, have work tomorrow, we go again, rah-da-rah. He's claimed, and Freddie Fittler came out and claimed as well, it was in response to death threats. I know there's some passionate people out there that do stupid things like death threats, but I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I don't buy it when it comes to Luai. but what's your take? You're the New South Welshman on the show, so you defend your little rat.
I can't defend him. Yeah, it's not a good look. Obviously, you get towed up. You go on Instagram at 4 a.m, or whatever it was, and make a cryptic sort of post like that. A lot of people are going to read it the wrong way, and they did, and it caused a stir in the media. Now people don't want to pick ever again for New South Wales. I think you just got to know when to pick your moments and not do things like that. So hopefully he's got someone advising him to do better next time. But as we know with Jerome Luai, he's not the best at reading the room. Case in point, Brian Tuttle's wedding. So
Look, I've made no secrets in my dislike of him. But yeah, he didn't, as you said, didn't read the room. I think, if you perform as badly as his team did, I think the best thing is just to keep your mouth shut. But again, if I'm not going to say kind of like Jack, he said he can't really blame him. I blame him for everything, so it's different. But you can't. I don't understand. Like, I'm a passionate fan, as you know, Richie. But I don't even bother sending messages to players if I'm upset if they've got a bad game. Admittedly, I have a show every week and I write a review, so I can do it there. But
you have a personal therapy session.
Yeah. People have a bad night at work. You don't expect to get a whole lot of hate. It does kind of come with the territory a bit, and there are idiots out there that do stupid things. But then in saying that, the players can do stupid things too, which is most of our news tonight. So, but yeah, I don't like him, so I am biased there. It's kind of just harden up, buttercup. But like Mark Roberts said there, he's a grub. So he doesn't get sympathy when this type of stuff happens. If it was Nathan Cleary, Nathan Cleary wouldn't do that message. But two, if he was getting that type of treatment, people would be a bit more up. But it's a thing you can't police. I'm sure, like Paul's here, I'm sure rugby union gets its fair share as well.
Yeah, just on the weekend, the Chiefs game.
Oh, well, that referee bloody deserved it.
Yeah, you were one of the ones abusing him, weren't you?
Yeah, I didn't say I don't do it for union. I just said I don't do it for league.
No, I wasn't actually going to give the union side of it, but yeah, no, there was some disgusting comments on the weekend for the referee, which was totally out of order
not really.
should never be allowed. But
the game.
the thing that I was going to say, that for me, by responding to it, you kind of in some ways you give that person validation. You go, look, they actually he read it, he saw it. And I think in some ways you get it. So I think they'd be better off just be trained some social media training and for the players to mute these people or block them so that they just and just ignore them. I think by commenting on it like this, in some ways you're adding, you're giving them validation, you're adding some fuel to the fire, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of them they don't have it. Like I know Sean Johnson, I think he's got social media again, but he spent quite a long time just without it, just to make his own life easier. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm sure this season of the standoff won't end without another Luai incident, I'm sure. So we'll wait and see. We'll move on to Ben Hunt. We talked a bit about it in your absence last week because it's a story that keeps building. It changed a lot this week. There was rumors that the game against the Warriors would be his last game, and then it started coming out that he was going to be with the Broncos for the rest of the year and then move to the Titans for the next 2 years after that. But the Dragons, they had a meeting with him on Monday, and the Dragons basically told him no. They've come out and said that he's going to honor his contract. Hunt's now said, he's going to be a Dragon for the rest of the year, which leaves it. I personally see him getting released for next season, but the Dragons, I've listened to a lot of media YouTube, on Sky, everywhere about it. It's a situation right now where the team has a bit more of the power here because they seem perfectly willing to go, no, sit there and earn $1 million in reserve grade. We don't care. You're staying. They want something to compensate them. And by doing this Broncos, then the Titans thing, it isn't going to be, they're not going to get the compensation they want. So it sounds like, if you believe the rumors, it sounds like they've put some lofty goals to the Titans, asking for Big Tino or Fortuaka in place of him. And yeah, if they are going in with that mindset, they should get something decent, I would assume. But yeah, what's your take on all of this? You didn't really get to give your input last week.
Yeah, I'm happy that the Dragons, as much as you don't like them, I'm happy that they're digging their heels in a little bit. Completely agree that if they're going to release him early, where's the compensation? And I don't like the fact that Ben Hunt was sitting in a team last place, not willing to budge on any positional changes, play hooker, but he's good to switch to a club coming first or second mid-season and play hooker and do whatever that takes. To be fair, I know he wants to win a premiership, but doing it that way would just feel hollow, in my opinion. Anyway, probably wouldn't feel hollow for him, but from my point of view, outside looking in, it wouldn't sit. Doesn't sit the best with me.
Yeah, that was the part. Like I think I talked about it last week, saying it makes more sense to let him go and use that $1 million on other players that actually want to play for you, but. Flicking him off to the Broncos so he can win a premiership potentially didn't sit right with me either. So I was happy that didn't happen because it was like, and I felt for, the young guys playing in the hooker role at the Broncos right now. What are they doing? But yeah, we'll see what happens there. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, I fully expect him to be wearing another team's jersey in 2024. Who that team is, we don't know. He is playing the homesick card, which is what every player does when they're in a team that's not winning. So it's technically meant to be a team in Queensland, and the only team really is the Titans that kind of need help in that halves area. If he wanted to go to the Broncos full-time and be a hooker, that would be his role there. He's not going to go. The Dolphins don't really need him, do they? I know their halves aren't as experienced, but I think Sean O'Sullivan was doing more than enough before he was injured. But yeah, it is what it is. It's going to be a story that's going to keep developing. So no doubt we'll end up talking a bit more about it next week. And yeah, like as Paul said, he's got no sympathy for the Broncos because they ruined the multi. We don't need to talk about that just yet. We'll wait.
Gummy Broncos.
Last bit of news before we go into signings and injuries and all that is Reece Walsh, baby Blue Eyes. After having a scuffle with Luai in Origin, it's great to see the grub from each team having a go at each other. He was straight back into the thick of it with the Broncos, being sent straight to the judiciary for contrary conduct. I've been heard on the field using one of my favorite words, but it's not very polite, the C word. Towards the ref. He claims it was towards the player. The judiciary last night was eventful. I actually was getting like the updates. And yeah, it went for 4 hours, Richie. Kinda was dead in the water when they had David Fafita come out to defend him and accidentally say, Walsh said it to the ref. I mean, Patrick Carrigan. So after all the toing and froing, he's got a 3-match ban. So what's your take? I felt like it had to come because we've talked about other players being heard on their microphones, the player microphones saying something they shouldn't and getting in trouble. So I think 3 matches is fine for me. He's not on my team, so I don't care. But what's your take on all of it? He was out of control in that Broncos game, to be fair.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he deserves a couple of weeks just for the way he was acting that whole game. He was sort of boiling over, going going up to the ref on so many calls. I think the ref actually spoke with Reynolds about it as well during the game, saying he's got to chill out a bit. Whether or not there's any truth to him saying that to Pat Carrigan as he claims, I'm not so sure. I think it looked close enough to him directing it towards the ref where I think they kind of had to act on it. So, like you said, I don't really care. He's not on my team. He's in one of the teams above us. So if that hurts them, then from a selfish Warriors point of view, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and he's. We saw glimpses of it when he was with the Warriors as well. I'm not in the inner circle, but it just seems it's a talented young kid that's never been told no, so he can get away with what he wants. It's not the first time. The only thing I didn't like was it was on the field because, as you know, as Paul loves me doing, plugging other shows, when we did our prediction show with Ruin Hammer, one of my predictions was Reece Walsh would have a big year for the Broncos, but it'd be derailed by an off-field scandal. Instead, he's getting derailed by on-field ones. So I'll give him half a tick off. But I'm sure it won't be the last. He's got a lot of growing up to do. I think I kind of said that when we talked about him leaving the club, saying like he's got all the talent in the world, but he's got the emotional maturity of a child. And until he gets that, he'll never be a guy you can rely on week in, week out, which we're kind of seeing here. It's fine when his team's, on these winning roles and doing everything right. But the moment stuff goes against them, he just spits the dummy, which you can't have. You can't have in the NRL if you want to consistently be a top team. So
I feel like the better he's playing and the more confident he's getting, that behavior is getting worse too. I think he just kind of needs to have some kind of moment, light bulb moment, whether that's someone having a conversation with him or someone at training slapping some sense into him. But I'm sure he'll learn it. Yeah.
It's exactly like the Luai situation. If you're allowed to punch players, this wouldn't be happening. But we'll move on. I know Paul doesn't like me endorsing violence too much in one show. But, we'll move on. That was all the news. I knew that stuff would take a bit long, so that was kind of all I stuck with. So we'll go to signings. It's basically the Manly show for signings this week, Richie. They kind of bombarded us with signings left, right, and centre. So they announced Luke Brooks from the Tigers on a 4-year deal, Jackson Paulo on a 3-year deal, Tommy Talau on a 2-year deal, and then they also extended Josh Schuster deal till the end of 2027. So we were talking about it when the Luke Brooks deal came out, saying, what does that mean for Schuster? I said I assume that means he's moving on.
Yep.
But no, he's staying too. So what's your take on all of those signings for Manly? How they fit it in the cap, I don't know.
I was on board with the Luke Brooks thing. I kind of thought Cherry Evans is a ball-dominant half. Luke Brooks can kind of just take a back seat and do more running, which he tends to be pretty good at. Then signing Schuster on a pretty big money deal for what you'd assume will probably be a back row position. It's a bit of a weird one. I don't know that he sort of has. I think he still has a lot of missed tackles in his game. He's missed quite a few lately. I just don't think he's got that sort of hard edge about him for a back rower, even though he's got the size about him. Perhaps he'll learn it, but they seem to have thrown him a pretty big dollar value on his contract for potential. He's definitely not proven yet, only in glimpses. Jackson Paulo and Tommy Talau as well. Handy enough pickups, but they seem to already have some decent players in those positions. So it's a bit weird.
It is weird. I guess being completely facetious here, if you're planning for next year, that Tommy Turbo is not going to be there every round. So getting some depth, I guess. I like the Luke Brooks idea. There's been a lot of rumors, people 100% speculating, and Mark's just commenting as well that DCE, does that mean he's either going to be on the move or retiring? I don't know. It is a lot of money they've just spent, so I don't know, and it's confusing with the Schuster thing because, as Jacko said, Manly moved Kieran Foran on because Schuster basically drew a line in the sand and said, I want to be a half. So they let Foran go so Schuster could be. He hasn't succeeded so far. So, and now they've got someone that will get that jersey over him every day of the week. Then they offer him a big deal. So I don't understand. Unless we've talked about it, how his manager's been out flaunting how much he wants and that, and he hasn't been getting bites. So maybe his manager was like, mate, I know you want to be a half, but you're not going to get that right now. So toe the line, take a deal, and we'll work on it next time. I don't know.
See, Brad, we set top of the show, mate. If you want to stop the show and have your question asked, you've got to show the money. But no, Brad's straight in there, quoting other people's questions. Cole, he's got to wait for the Q&A section. Brad, oh dear, get this right. Money.
I'm not a money person. I sit here with no money, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to learn. Last one of signings, there wasn't that many. And yet, Kaiser said Schuster got rewarded for poor performance and effort. Will come back to bite them. Yeah, he's been signed big money deal on expected potential, not on what he's delivering. So, which does happen. It's a bit many a team on the arse. Look at the Luke Brooks is a great example with the Tigers. They kept giving him a lot of money. He would be a fool to say no. If anyone asks you, do you want $1 million, even though you probably don't deserve it, you're going to say yes, aren't you? So, yeah. And Simon says to listen to Paul because Paul knows a lot about money. It's because he's the growing up here.
Not sure where we know where that's coming from. But so the flip side is you end up if you don't pay for potential and you pay for what they're doing now, you end up with Sonny Bill Williams situation where the guy's on a long contract getting underpaid and they're upset. So it's a no-win situation in some forms about that.
Sonny kind of won in that situation.
Well, eventually.
You just walk out. That's what you do. And then the last one, it's Wigan Warriors. They announced the signing of Cruz Lemming on a 4-year deal from 2024. He was in the Super League, came down here as with the Titans. Not really getting a lot of look-ins at the moment, but doing reasonably well in their reserve grade. And so that was an experiment that maybe kind of didn't work for him. But a big 4-year deal going to play for Wigan's not a bad deal for a guy from the UK anyway. So what's your take on Cruz coming to my mighty Wigan Warriors?
It's obviously he's seen as a good enough there you go, Brad. He's seen as a good enough talent to come to the NRL to have a crack. So it's good for our team, our Super League team, that is, the other Warriors, to it'll be a good pickup. So hopefully from next season push us closer to the title.
Yeah, and since you donated money, do you want to actually say something about that now, or did you just want to flaunt that you have money unlike the rest of us?
No, I accidentally clicked send before typing the question. My question for you was if Rob could sort you out with a Jesse Royal T-shirt, will you wear it on the show?
No.
Well, that wasn't worth my money then, was it?
No, it wasn't.
How much will it take?
A lot more than that. I'd never do that. So you want to say something too, Paul, before we move on?
Yes, I can say before we move on to the next section, folks, Brad is doing Shave for a Cure. Someone's asked in the live chat when that's going to be cut off. It's going to be done this Friday, folks. So please get in there and support him. He's doing great so far. currently raising over $1,500 for Shape for a Cure. I've just put the link into the live chat, so folks, please head on over there and support Brad in his good deed this Friday, which I'll be videoing. We may even live stream it. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if it's people wanting to help charity or if they just want to see me with no hair. I don't know what it is.
I definitely want to see you with no hair. I can't wait.
You've seen it before.
I know. It'd be good to see it again.
It's the wrong time of year to do it.
Does it include waxing your back as well? I don't know.
No, it's just up on the hair.
Are you volunteering, Paul?
He's going to be there, so you never know. So we'll move on to injury chat. Oh, wait, there was a comment I saw. I know Paul yells at me. I'm bringing it up. Oh, no, Paul's bringing it up. See, I'm taking over. Talking about the long-term deals and that if you're underpaying, you can end up like Jason Tomololo, which I think we've mentioned it before. He got like a massive, it was like 10 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10 years.
Basically signing his life away. And, you could say he's getting overpaid for it now. He's not the blockbuster player he was. He's never really talked about in terms of like a devastating player like he used to be anymore. Still a good player, but is he worth the huge chunk of change the Cowboys are paying him now? I'm not so sure.
He probably was worth it at the time. But yeah, the game's sort of the style of the game's passed him by a little bit where he's no longer seen in that top. I think he's still a very good player, obviously, but
yeah. Oh yeah. You talented player, but yeah, not $1 million player anymore. But we'll move into injuries. There's quite a few, but I've kind of narrowed it down to 4 that I think are important for how their team goes. Start off with Tommy Turbo. Tore his pec in Origin, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season. I was kind of looking at it, and I was trying to figure out the last time I got to watch Tommy Turbo live. And it's been years. Obviously, we had COVID, but it felt like every time the Warriors were playing them in Mount Smart, he was out injured. So devastating for him. Even more devastating for Manly, who kind of put all their chips on him. What's your take on Tommy Turbo going out?
Devastating for New South Wales too, because they had to play a hooker in his position, but
they didn't have to. They chose to.
No, exactly. We'll get to that. Yeah, you feel terrible for the guy. He just can't catch a break. It's sort of rinse and repeat. Every season he has a serious injury of sorts. So
yeah.
Devastating for Manly. Obviously, they don't tend to go very well without him, but first and foremost, devastating for him because he probably should be one of the elite players of our game for the past few years, but injuries just keep stopping it from happening.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm a fan of him on the field, but yeah, he's got a horror run, and if it's not like it's the same injury every time.
Yeah,
he just picks a new body part that he wants to ruin. I don't know. It was poor tackling technique that did this. He couldn't stop the quickness that was Queensland. But yeah, unfortunate. You got to wonder if there's going to be a point where Manly just tell him, mate, you're not playing Origin anymore. If you're going to get injured, at least get injured for us. But yeah, and yeah, like Mikey said, Tom unable to carry a team's worn him down. Yeah, he's got. You could effectively say he basically has New South Wales and Manly on his back at times. That's a lot of pressure on a guy that is a bit frail. But yeah, hopefully he bounces back from this one and doesn't get another one in 2024. But next one, kind of good news for us as biased Warriors fans, but Latrell Mitchell's still struggling with his calf injury, and they think he's not going to be back till round 21. I talked about it on the show last week that he was getting rested last week, so he'd be ready to go for the Warriors, and kind of said that's kind of what happens every time a big name comes back against the Warriors. But no, he's not making the trip. So a bonus for us as Warriors fans, but not the greatest news for the Rabbitohs, who are kind of hitting a bit of a lull at the moment.
Yeah, and again, this wasn't the best for New South Wales. I feel like if we had those two guys we just talked about in the team, it would have been a lot more competitive. But yeah, it's a bummer for South Sydney. Obviously, they've not been in the best form over the past month or so, and probably a lot of that's directly related to a lack of this guy, Latrell Mitchell, and Origin period as well. So
Yeah.
I just have my fingers crossed we cash in on that this weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And then the last two, Josh Hodgson's had surgery on his neck and will miss the next 6 to 8 weeks. And Josh Papali'i left the Raiders game early with a hamstring complaint. I didn't really have a word on his return. I don't recall. Was he named this week? Hold on. I should have researched that before I went on, No, yeah, he's not named this week. So it's usually like a week or 2 weeks for that type of thing. So big loss for the Raiders. The Eels seem to be doing okay without Josh. So
yeah. I almost feel like the Eels play better with Brendan Hands in the 9 jersey. Yeah.
So last one before we get into reviewing the games, Naughty Boy Corner. Last week, Richie, you missed the first week. We had none. No fines, no bans. But this week they made up for it. Murata Nakore from the Warriors has got a 3-match ban for a grade 2 careless high tackle. What's your take on it? I thought he was very unlucky.
You know my take on it. Thought it was a lovely tackle.
I personally, I think he was sin-binned and then sent due to the injury, the fact that he laid Moses Sully out. If Moses had got up and nothing had happened, it wouldn't have even been called. So,
I see why he's picked up the suspension, having similar charges a couple times recently now, and no doubt at all that Sully felt it. He sort of tried to stand up and then sort of stumbled off to the side. He wasn't in a good way, so he definitely felt the shoulder. I don't think Niokore lined up the head though. Rather, Sully dropped into his shoulder. But hey, that's
like the Teddy situation where he always goes low into tackles.
Off. That's contact sport, and I guess if we were watching Union, he'd probably have seen a red card, to be honest. So, yeah.
And then Jacob Host from the Rabbitohs, he's out for 2 weeks for a grade 2 shoulder charge. And Jack DeBellin, I haven't seen his fully enacted because he had two-match ban potential for a grade 2 careless high tackle and then a grade 1 for dangerous contact. So he got 2. No sin bin for him in that game, though, of course. Hold on. I'm just trying to see if they actually came down with a whole lot. Jack DeBellin, he, in fact, only got $6,000 fine. So he was up for time, but he didn't get it. So well done to him, beating the charge. So we'll jump in now. That's everything done there. We'll jump into talking about Origin and the round. So we'll start off first, Richie, with the State of Origin men's. Queensland whooping those New South Wales boys 32-6.
Yeah, did they ever? 6 tries to 1 for Queensland. Val Holmes grabbing 2, Murray Taolangi, the hammer, Tabuai Fido, Xavier Coates, and Jeremiah Nanai grabbing the 6 tries. Only the one for New South Wales, the hooker playing out in the centres, Damien Cook.
Yeah. I've got my notes here for Queensland. They were actually behind on most of the stats. I just felt they had more intensity and made the most of every chance they had. Well-deserved win and almost certain to be 3-0 in this series.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Getting ahead of yourself. I thought
3-0 before the series started. So
yeah, you're probably right too. But I thought Queensland showed a great ability to absorb everything New South Wales had. And in the end, I felt like they won comfortably with their superior ability to convert their chances. I just felt like they owned all the big moments, even when New South Wales had a lot of ball, and it was in the end pretty convincing.
Yeah, and your take on New South Wales?
Like I just said, I feel like they had a good amount of ball and good field positions too, but they definitely were lacking the killer blow on attack. Losing Turbo early definitely didn't help, and I think hindsight's a great thing, but I think it was a bit of a questionable call to move Cook out into the centres. In hindsight, obviously, I heard their reasonings for it. They felt like he had the better speed of all the options they had to move out into the centres. They felt like he had the most speed to help counter Reece Walsh sweeping around the back. But yeah, Queensland saw that and targeted him all day. So
yeah, I kind of got the same. I think they just made too many poor choices, and I felt they barely dented the defense of Queensland. Losing Turbo and replacing him with Cook was a strange option from Fittler, as you just mentioned. I personally would have had Cam Murray out there. He may not be as fast, but he knows how to tackle. You're going to get, what you're going to get from Cam Murray. He never fails to deliver, does he? So it just seems like the right thing to do. But I'm not a coach, so what do I know? And then, to be honest, I think they just need to clean out and bring in some new blood. I know they like to rely on the guys who've done it in the past, but it's not working. So, change. They've got a hell of a lot of talent that they could bring in. So maybe we'll see that in this game, the dead rubber coming up, because it doesn't count, doesn't matter. Throw some new ones out there and see what happens. But Fittler loves giving a guy one origin and then never giving them another one. So it's a perfect chance for him to do that with a whole lot of new ones. Your player to stand out?
I picked that big ogre-looking fella, Lindsay Collins. I just feel like he's tailor-made for this level. How many massive moments have you seen him produce over the first two matches? So,
mate, he's going to be fullback in the last game.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't pick him, seeing as though you're the front rower. But I thought he's been outstanding the whole series so far.
Yeah, he was close. He's been massive for them. But I went with Reece Walsh. He had a couple of try assists. He did look dangerous out there. Was one of the first guys in a while to actually, try to attack Jerome Luai. So we got a tick in my book. I don't know. I had a laugh. It was an entertaining time. So I went with Walshy. He was exciting. What do you do?
It was entertaining.
So next game, the women's Origin game, which was a lot more competitive than the male counterpart. But New South Wales getting the win here, 18-14.
Yeah.
It was the other way around, wasn't it?
New South Wales won, 18-14.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to give us the rundown?
So it was actually 3 tries apiece in this one. Tamika Upton, Emily Bass, and Taryn Aitken were the try scorers for Queensland. For New South Wales, Tiana Penatani got 2, and Yasmin Clydesdale grabbed the 3rd. The difference in the scoring, Jessie Southwell's boot, 1 from 3 with conversions and 2 penalty goals, which ultimately that was the difference.
Yeah. So New South Wales, I thought they looked a bit more dangerous at times. But they got the win. Didn't get the series. But it was a good effort. They showed heart out there, which is a lot more than you can say for their male counterparts. Your take on New South Wales?
On New South Wales?
Yeah.
I think this will be a bit of a hollow win for New South Wales, as they couldn't cover the points difference enough to take the series. So I think a 3-game series is a must, and hopefully the NRLW can kick off before the series in future. As looks like a bit of rust is evident, but good to get the win, but unfortunate no series result.
Yeah, still a high error rate, which we kind of expected, but it was down from the first one. Yeah, Queensland, they were in the fight. They just didn't have that little bit of polish that they needed. And yeah, it pushes the claims that it should be a 3-match series when, they're one apiece now. To be honest, you've got a dead rubber in the men's, and you've got the women can't fight for it. It doesn't seem right in my eyes, but hopefully in time we actually get a 3-match series. I don't understand why they don't bother. I know they did ask. They are pushing to get an actual 80-minute game as well. So hopefully that happens too. But yeah, I thought it was a great showing. Who was your player to look out for?
Oh, I'm a little bit of bias here because I love it a bit, but she to me is like my like your thing
Millie
that you
Boyle.
have with Millie Boyle. Yeah, so I put Isabel Kelly. I just thought she bounced back really well from her pretty sickening blow to the throat that she got in the first game, and as she always is, she's a beast, very hard to handle out on the edge there, and always breaking heaps of tackles. So yeah, I thought she was pretty big.
Yeah, and I see on my slide, I didn't actually update mine. I had the one from the last Origin game, so not very professional. But it was, of course, Millie Boyle. Yeah, she just, she looked good out in the middle. Looks good all the time anyway. But yeah, it was a great game from Millie. Unfortunately, I'm not looking forward to seeing her do that in a Roosters jersey, but them's the times.
Nice to see we're tipping our footy crushes for our players that stood out. Very professional.
It's what we do. It's fair to say I do that a lot in the men's code as well. So speaking of the men's code, we'll get into round 17 of the NRL, starting with my game of the week. On Friday night, the Warriors defeating the Dragons 48-18. If you want to go down the list, there's a bit to name out.
Yeah, with pleasure. 9 tries to 3 for the Warriors. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak grabbed 4. Marcelo Montoya, Bailey Sarinan, Jackson Ford, Sean Johnson, and Rocco Berry were the try scorers. For the Dragons, Tyrell Sloan, Zaid Musgrove, and Francis Molo were the 3 try scorers.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a clunky first 20 minutes, I thought, for the Warriors. It felt I was getting a few unfortunate flashbacks to Napier, the first game off the first bye.
Yeah.
Where they were kind of making a few shortcuts and it wasn't running off. But around the injection of Dylan Walker, everything started to kind of click, and they got back into the groove that we've seen, the past few games. And solid effort from all involved, and good to see them pile on points against the bottom 4 side, because it's something the Warriors have kind of had issues with in the past, where when they're playing a team lower than them, they go down to their level, and they would, you go, yay, the Warriors got a win in Wollongong, but they bet the Dragons like 24-18 instead of doing what they did here. So it's good to see them actually pile on some points on a team that they should have. So your take on the Warriors, Rich?
Yeah, it kind of similar to you, Brad. Like the start, it was a bit slow, but I felt like we kept grinding away and knocking the door down bit by bit. And I felt like once we broke through, we were far too classy for them. The shape and the passing, particularly left to right, was so slick to the point where even when we were a man down, we were able to strip them for numbers. So satisfying. Like, so many guys stood up. Love what I saw from even guys like Rocco Berry, who's had his place questioned, but you can't deny his ability to put his outside man away. Like, Dylan cashed in a bit there, and it's not just him, but also Sean and Chance, and even AFB's passing game. I think so many players stood up. I could probably sit here and list the whole team.
Yeah, and like Jacko said, Montoya's try-saving tackle on Ravalawa, who burnt him last time they played each other. It was tremendous. Yeah, they did so well.
So good.
But Dragons. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much the opposite of what I just said for the Warriors. Not so good for the Dragons. I don't know if the Ben Hunt saga may have been a distraction, but definitely at no point did they look like they could win this game. And yeah, if I supported the Dragons, thankfully I don't, I'd be very worried about the remainder of the year.
Well, we wouldn't be friends for one.
Yeah. Good call.
Yeah, Dragons still a mess. I say it every week. Tyrell Sloan, though, was the only highlight in my eyes. As I said, he's in my fantasy team. And this game is kind of reasons why. He was really the only one that looked like he hadn't given up, and was still trying some stuff, was causing some headaches early on. But yeah, the rest of the team looked like they've given up on the Hunt. Certainly looked like he was over it. He's already spoken in the media. He doesn't want to be there, and he's out there leading the side around. So when your leader doesn't want to be there, what's the rest of the team going to bloody do? And I think the worst is yet to come for this team. For this year, I think I don't see them bouncing back, and they've got to play the Warriors again in New Zealand. So
can't wait.
That's going to be a good one. You're coming up for that one, are you not?
Yeah.
I think that was the plan. I don't want to spoil it. Some other people said they might be coming too. I don't know if they've announced it, so I won't do it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game for sure. It's the second game marked on my calendar out of the Warriors games. But yeah, player to stand out.
I'm in a front rower mood this week for Noah Blake. Yeah, I thought he was sensational again. The meters, obviously, that's his core role, but everything else, his late footwork, his passing, his tip-ons, the offload to Sean Johnson for a try, he got a try assist in there. Yeah, I know everyone talks about Payne Haas, best front row in the game, but Fanua Blake's right there with them, I feel like, this year.
Yeah, they're two completely different styles of front rower.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, I think the difference between the two is that small footwork, like you said. Like Payne Haas, is going to just go through people, where Adam just changes his line and hits a shoulder and squeezes through and is ready to pop an offload, like we saw with Sean Johnson's try. Fantastic, but I didn't pick him. I went with Dallin.
Good choice. Yeah,
I cheat on this. The guy I pick is the guy I give my player of the match in my review that I do every Monday, and I gave it Dallin. Adam got 2 points from me this week in my 3-2-1s, so he was close. But how could you not give it to Dallin in his first ever 4-try haul? We were talking during the game saying, like, he hasn't scored a hat trick yet. Then he got the hat trick, and it was like, that's great to see it happen. And then boom, he adds the fourth one on. 12 tries in 9 games.
Yeah, he's going unreal. He was so good on the weekend.
Yeah, and hopefully that continues to improve, because he has been improving every week as well. You kind of feel like you're always guaranteed at least 2 tries out of him at the moment. So hopefully you'll see a couple more this week.
Yeah, definitely.
Move on to the next game. First game on Saturday. The Eels trying to emulate the Warriors here, doing a 48-20 win over the Dolphins.
Yeah, and it was 8-4 for the Eels. Andrew Davey, Jermaine Hopgood, Will Pinasini grabbed 2, Clint Gutherson grabbed 2, Bailey Simonson and Sean Russell were the try scorers. For the Dolphins, 4 try scorers, Braden McGrady, Hamiso Tabuai Fido grabbed 2, and Valence Tefade grabbed 1. So, yeah, this one was pretty much all done and dusted by halftime.
Conrad Harrell still knocking over those tries every week.
Yeah.
He's doing well. Dominant display from the Eels. Forwards created havoc, and the backs, led by the flat track bully, just unloaded. A bit like the Warriors match, the Eels needed to score big here, and they delivered, and they just need to keep it up. I think they're when they play like this, they are a massive threat, but they don't play like this all the time, which is their issue. But your take on the Eels?
Yeah, extremely dominant in the first half, 42-4 at halftime. I thought their attack looked very potent, even without Dylan Brown. Deja Anasi slips in nicely there and does a good job. Yeah, when I watched them, like in the first half, they look like they're back to the sort of form they were showing last year. Obviously, poor start to the year, but their points differential now is really, really good, and they keep playing like this. I think they're a lock for the 8 again, and we as we saw last year, they can give it a shake.
Yeah, definitely. And your take on the Dolphins?
Yeah, another really tough week for the Finns. Unfortunately, they look to have run out of steam at this point of the year. I'm sure they'll pick up another few wins for the year, but the fairy tale side of things looks to have fizzled out.
Yeah, I got more of the same for the Dolphins for me. Their depth's tested and they're starting to struggle as the year goes on. However, on the positive side of things, Jeremy Marshall-King and Sean O'Sullivan are back this week.
Yeah.
So that should help them get back on track a little bit. But yeah, I think they've kind of done their dash. Always get proven wrong on this show, so I don't mind getting proven wrong again. But yeah, I think their time's done. Your player to stand out, I know you picked the same one.
Yeah, flat track bully, doing flat track bully things.
You can't call him that because you support him.
I know. Yeah, I'm just being a Brad.
Mitch Moses, another good game. Everything he should have done in Origin, he did here. So, well done on that. Next game, Panthers defeating the Knights 20-12.
Yep, was 4-2 for the Panthers. Dylan Edwards, Tyrone Peachy grabbing 2, Jamin Salmon grabbing the last try for them. 2 tries to the Knights, Kalen Ponga, Jackson Hastings.
Yeah, with no Origin players, the Panthers were expected to struggle by many, but we both picked them regardless. Wasn't their best performance by any stretch, but they had a 90% completion rate. And they just grinded the Knights out of the game. Got themselves set up really nicely for the run to the finals.
Yep.
You kind of say that every week about them, though, can you?
Yeah, you do. You do. I sort of thought without all their big guns, they still find a way, as they somehow manage to do so often. They're extremely professional, so I don't really find it a surprise, to be honest. I feel like they've got such a good setup that when a player or two drop out, they seem to fill the gap, next man up sort of mentality, and fill it seamlessly. Everyone stays in the systems, and they just find a way. So, I think despite their missing Cleary for the next few weeks and their missing players with this weekend just gone, I think they'll still keep marching towards the finals.
Yeah, and your take on the Knights?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody caught this during the week, but I think Christian Welch said it best to Craig Bellamy in their press conference. He said, "How did the Knights lose? The Panthers didn't have anybody." So I kind of echo his thoughts. Pretty poor outing from the Knights, and from their big players too, like Ponga. I felt like he was definitely off, and I feel like they're playing a bottom 9 brand of footy right now. So wouldn't be surprised to see them stay there for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I've kind of got more of the same. I thought they started well, but they just made too many errors, which prevented them from taking control of the match. They only lost by 8, but they could have nabbed a few more tries in there if they just knew how to hold on to the ball. A few bright moments in the game. They had like little glimpses of stuff they can do. Problem is they don't do it all the time, and if they want to climb that ladder, they need to be more complete. I see. Jacko, he's kind of mentioned O'Brien's a dead coach crawling to oblivion. Yeah, we've kind of been saying, I think we were even talking about it last year, that O'Brien probably needs to be moved on. I thought he was more a chance of getting sacked than Holbrook, that's for sure. But it's definitely, they're not playing like a top 8 side right now. So, see if that changes in the next couple of weeks. Your player to stand out?
Yeah, I think we're going the same way here again, but couldn't really ignore Tyrone Peachy without so many big gun Origin players resting for the match. I thought he stepped up big time. He did it all in this game.
Yeah, I had the same year. Tyrone Peachy thought he did really well out there. He's kind of just being used as that utility. We'll throw him in when we need him, and did a great job. So well done to him. We'll move on to the next game. Storm defeating Manly 24-6.
It was 5-1 for the Storm. Jerome Hughes, Jonah Pezzett, Big Nass, Nelson Asafa-Solomona, and Xavier Coates grabbing 2 tries. Only the 1 try for Manly was Haumole Olokuatu. Pretty easy win for the Storm here.
Yeah, typical Storm performance they got here. We don't even really need to talk about it that much. They strangled the life out of Manly and scored with relative ease. Another team starting to build at the right time. That's my new phrase instead of, one of the teams to beat, which Paul, slayed me for a few weeks ago. But yeah, I think they're building well as well. But your thoughts on the Storm?
Yeah, I feel like Melbourne look to be steadying the ship a bit now. These 2 teams met a month and a bit ago, and I felt like Manly sort of bullied Storm out of the game, and Manly ended up winning that one. But I feel like Melbourne look a different team when Asafa-Solomona is getting good minutes. He seems to add that intimidation factor that they lack without him on the field. So, yeah, I thought he was pretty massive in this one.
Yeah, and your take on Manly?
Yeah, not the greatest times for Manly with Turbo gone for the year. They definitely look far less formidable and a lot more beatable without him. So, and not many standout players to speak of this week, really, as you can see on the scoreboard. So, yeah, another team I think maybe bottom 9 with a bottom 9 destiny.
Yeah, without Turbo, Manly just lack punch, and DCE can't do it alone. As we've seen before, was more of the same this week. He just, there wasn't much to offer. As you just said, it could be the decline of Manly if they can't find some spark. So, it could be another team plummeting on the ladder. Your player to stand out, I think, for the 3rd game in a row, we've got the same player.
Yeah, there's been some pretty obvious standouts. Big Nelson. I just spoke about him. Yeah, he's massive, big, aggressive, adds so much to this team. Yeah,
I picked him too. Got a try, ran for 158 meters, and he played 75 minutes, which is massive for not only a front rower, but a front rower the size of Nelson. So you kind of expect that from your Fanua Blakes and your Haasers, who are a bit smaller and fitter than a big brute like that. But yeah, massive effort from him. So thoroughly deserved. Next game, probably one of the more exciting ones of the round. The Titans defeating the Broncos 18-12.
Yeah, I'm known as a bit of a Broncos hater, so I really enjoyed this one. Was 3 tries to 2 in the Titans' favour. David Fafita, Brian Kelly, and Cam Pereira grabbing the 3 tries. 2 tries for the Broncos. Thomas Flegler and Ezra Mam, he grabbed one. I kind of almost felt like that was held up, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Had I known the Titans were going to sack their coach, I probably would have picked them, as those teams sometimes show a bit of life after losing a coach. But full credit to them, was a hard-fought win. I think we were all just waiting for them to collapse in that second half, but they showed heart, and a lot of tries going both ways that got taken away. I feel like that always happens when Casey Badger's in the bunker. But to her credit, I think she got most of those choices right, maybe a few wrong, but busy night for her. But yeah, good to see the Titans, actually hold on to a game. It was close to going the other way, but your take on the Titans?
I usually bag the Titans for their defense, but I can't really fault them here in this game. I felt like they were really up for this game, and Fafita was really on form, and Cam Pereira, I love seeing him in space. He showed how scary his speed is of showing the outside. There's one moment in the game where Cobbo showed him the outside, and he absolutely blitzed him down the left-hand touchline for his try. So I really liked what I saw from the Titans in this game.
Yeah. And your take on the Broncos?
Perhaps maybe a little bit of an origin hangover for their big players. They looked to step off the pace for sure, and Walsh in particular just looked frustrated for most of the match. I wonder whether the Broncos might be in for a tough few weeks. They're going to be missing Walsh for 3, and Jordan Ricky and Flegler also through injury for a few weeks as well. So this next period's really going to show what the Broncos are made of.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of got similar. As that, I think it looked like they just took the Titans too lightly. And when things weren't starting to go their way, like I said earlier, they started to lose it. If they want to stay a premiership contender, they need to get Walsh's emotions in check. Maybe he'll learn some meditation in this 3 weeks off or something. But yeah, and they actually have to remember they have to try every week regardless of their opposition. Yeah, it just looked like they went out expecting to win and didn't know what to do when they got some resistance. Your player to stand out, yet again, same player.
Hey, man, I said I was in a big player kind of mood this week of picking mostly front rows and second rows. David Fafita. I thought, he obviously scored a try, set up a try, probably took a try off the Broncos, milking an obstruction. So, also plenty of meters. A lot of hit-ups. He kind of did it all this game.
Yeah. You're guaranteed to get 3 good games out of Fafita every season, and we got one here. So, thought it was a great effort from him.
He's been better than that this year.
He's been a lot better this year. Thought it was a great showing from him. And I'm sure it's probably a game he gives a little bit more oomph to. He really likes, beating the Broncos. So, well done. And then next game, continuing the trend of my shocking Sunday when it comes to picks, the Cowboys defeating the Rabbitohs 31-6.
Yeah, it was a sad Sunday for the picks.
There you go.
Yeah,
look at the multi. So,
not good.
Those not watching, Paul's just brought up the multi we did last week. We started well, getting the Warriors, Panthers, Storm right, and then the Broncos and Rabbitohs ruined it. So, the multi win eludes us again,
as it always does. The Cowboys gave it to the Rabbitohs here, 31-6. It was 5 tries to 1. Murray Taulagi, Valentine Holmes with 2. Fini Fuyaki grabbed 1, and Tom Dearden grabbed 1. 1 try for the Rabbitohs, Lachlan Ilias.
Yeah, so Cowboys continue their recent run of form. Impressive effort here that was really won in the low-scoring first half. I think they kind of did the hard work in that stage, which allowed them the freedom to play expansive footy in the second. Don't think we can count a top 8 finish for them off just yet. I think if they keep going the way they are, I think they will be a top 8 team, which I don't think I think I had already pretty much ripped them off a few weeks ago. They just need to keep racking up wins. It's as simple as that. But your take on the Cowboys?
Last time I thought they were back, they ended up conceding 66 to the Tigers. So I'll proceed with caution. But
and
the Cowboys look
this week. It's coming weekend.
I feel like the Cowboys look far better of late. I think Origin has played some of their players back into form, like Nanai in particular, but they look a threat again. So, having said all that, I've probably jinxed them for the next few weeks.
Well, they've got no game's easy, but they've got a relatively easy winnable game this week, maybe. So we'll see what really happens. But your take on the Rabbitohs?
Yeah, I think it was just another poor game and a pretty poor month from the Rabbits. Much like Walsh was in the Broncos game, I felt like Cody Walker seemed to be playing in angry mode, which doesn't normally work out well for him when it comes to his playing form. And they've got a tough task this week coming up, this week in Auckland as well. So, we'll really see how they're tracking this week for sure, coming up against the Warriors, who are in form at a sold out Mount Smart.
Yeah, Rabbits are just back to their massive error rate that I complained about for most of this year. And when they did manage to hold on to the ball, they didn't do anything with it. Very lackluster effort. Typical to see a team get a wake-up call before they play the Warriors. But, yeah, I think heading over on a short turnaround to a packed-out Mount Smart is going to be an intimidating time. And I think like what you said about Cody Walker, I think that's the key. If the Warriors can get under his skin early on, you basically write him off for the rest of the game. He sees red and loses the plot. But player that you picked, again, Jeremiah. I think we were the same one. Yeah.
It's hard to deny him, mate. Jeremiah Nanai. Actually, there was other players as well. I thought Scotty Drinkwater, he's been really great the past few weeks. But, from when Jeremiah Nanai has come from the start of this year where he was having like maybe 1 or 2, like 2-3 runs max per game.
Yeah.
He looks completely different. And I think maybe the faith Billy Slater showed in selecting him for Origin, he looks different. He looks hungrier and
he looks back to what he was last year.
Yeah, like that, but even hungrier again, like for work. I mean, last year he was picking up a lot of tries off kicks, but this, now he's taking a whole lot of runs. Dangerous guy when he's playing like that.
Yeah, I picked him too. Backing up from Origin, he got 182 meters. Not afraid to look for work, which was good to see. Moving us to the last game of the round, the Raiders defeating the Roosters 20-18.
Yeah, and it was 3 tries apiece for the Raiders, Jack White and Albert Hopewadi and Matty Timuko. For the Roosters, 2 tries to Joey Manu and 1 to Lindsay Collins. Really, it was 2 penalty goals for Jared Croker. The goal kicking, the difference.
Yeah, strong first half from the Raiders. They were physical and relentless with the ball in hand. However, they still had that issue with those second halves and need to sort that out as they could have actually let this game slip. The Roosters were coming back with a wet sail and it almost cost them. But yeah, well done from the Raiders here.
Yeah, I put that it was almost a signature Raider fade. Scoring all their tries in the first half hour of the game. Luckily enough for them, a penalty goal in the 56th minute proved to be the difference.
Yeah. And your thoughts on the Roosters?
Yeah, obviously terrible first half from them. I'm very happy to concede that my premiership winning prediction is way off. Another team looking like they're playing like a bottom 9 team. And just not looking good.
Yeah, dreadful effort from the Roosters. They almost got themselves a lucky win, but if they did, they wouldn't have deserved it. Tedesco looks well off pace and looked more of a liability than a strength, to be honest. I think I was saying it to you during the game. It looked like he was just an old man just trying to compete with the young guys, but just couldn't. It feels like this team's at rock bottom right now, if I'm honest. Too much talent in this roster to be this poor. I don't know what they've got to do to fix themselves, but I think the rot's set in for this year at least. Your player to stand out?
Yeah, you just touched on it, but for me, James Tedesco, for the wrong reasons, not for the right reasons. Just the past few years, I'm so used to seeing him produce 8 out of 10 performances minimum week to week. Just not getting that from him this year. Just looks different off the pace, almost getting in the way. People are jumping over him, out jumping him for bombs. We've seen it again here this game. So, not the best time for James. So obviously that sort of goes into how the Roosters are performing as well. So hopefully he can bounce back.
Yeah, to be honest, I would have. They've just extended him too. Remember, so I would have cut him. They're the best fullback, and their team's not playing fullback, and that's Joey Manu. I would have just cut Teddy loose. But I know there's a lot of people that think that's controversial, but there's a lot of other people saying that seems he's either got to give up Origin or just give up playing altogether. I don't know. But my player was the big red machine, Corey Horsburgh. Getting back on before we go back, going to a forward. Thought it was another standout for him. And yeah, I think it more than strengthens his chance of actually playing an Origin in the next one. You know, he got into the squad, but I think he'll be playing the 17 this week, especially in a dead rubber. It'll be the time for Billy will be like, you got a taste of what it's like to be in camp. Let's give you a taste of actually getting out there. So yeah, thoroughly well deserved from the Raiders. Good to see. But that's the round. So we'll bring up, I don't know what you got, Paul. If you got tips, ladder, you can surprise me. We don't want to look at that anymore, Paul. You know, that's a horrible multi to look at. The ladder. So I'll do top 8 this time. So Penrith gone up to number 1 with 24 points. Broncos are second on 24. Then Melbourne third on 24, just been separated by differential. Then 4th and 5th, the Sharks and Warriors on differential as well. And the Raiders on 6, all on 22 points, separated by points differential. Then the Eels are back up into the 8 with 20 points, and Rabbitohs are also there with 20, sitting at 8th.
All right, and the bottom 9 shapes up like this. Gold Coast sitting just outside of the 8 on 20 points. Cowboys have now moved up into 10th on 18 points. The Dolphins, Roosters, and Manly are all on the slide, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Newcastle, 14th. Bulldogs, 15th. Tigers, 16th. And Dragons down to last place. Smile for that, Brad.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see. I was very happy with that. But yeah, that is it. So we'll move to the tips, Paul. So Simon and myself both got 4 out of 7. So Simon's still leading at 80 out of 128. I'm 76 out of 128. And then Rich got 3 out of 7, falling further and further behind, 74 out of 128.
I don't know why I do this.
I don't know why you do it either. But okay, so that will take us to questions. Do we have any questions from anyone, Paul?
I guess just from Mark from earlier on was like, would Kevin Walters want to remove his son from the 9 jersey for Hunt?
Yeah, he wants to win a premiership.
Ooh.
I feel like Billy Walters has done pretty well this year, though. He's done his role well, and really it's Reynolds and Walsh, guys like that, doing the bulk of the playmaking. All he has to do is a good, solid job at a dummy half. So obviously you'd move him on for Hunt, but I'm glad we're not seeing Hunt go there.
Yeah, and I saw, sorry to interrupt, Simon's done his tips, but I see he's missed one. He hasn't got the Broncos-Dolphins game. So if he wants to flick us who he's got for that to add to it. But yeah, any other questions? Sorry?
Yeah, I guess for me, you're talking about giving the guys a go for in this final dead rubber of Origin. I mean, does that devalue the jersey? Giving guys just throwing them kind of an easy cap? Or should you actually be, or is the jersey more important? And should you, even though it's a dead rubber, should you still be picking your top teams?
Well, I think that's the problem. New South Wales aren't picking their top team as it is.
Yeah, so, I feel like Queensland are going to go all in here and try and go all out to get the sweep. I don't think a clean sweep's been done for a few years, so I think Queensland will go all in. I think if you're New South Wales, why wouldn't you try a few different things? For them, it's only pride on the line, and
they need to win it.
I think a few people played their way out of a jersey in the first 2 games. So
for the first 3 games of last season. they played out of it. They just for some reason got picked again because Fittler's an idiot. But yeah, so yeah, it could devalue the jersey. It depends on who you're picking. Like if you're picking some guy that doesn't deserve Origin, I think it's devaluing it. But there are a lot of players that aren't getting the jersey that I think would do better. Yeah, and that's what Jacko said. Yeah, guys in blue aren't valuing the jersey, so why not pick ones that will? That's kind of my view on it. And yeah, with the Queensland team, bar one, which is out of hand, I think they'll probably pick the exact same team that won in Brisbane.
And Richie was saying there that it's been a few years since there's been a clean sweep. Guys, quick quiz. Which year was the last time there was a clean sweep, and for which team was it? Brad, your year?
2021 New South Wales? I don't know.
No, it goes back further, I think. It has to have been Queensland in that dominant period. I don't know, 2010.
Oh, and he nails it. Well done,
done.
Richie. 2010, 3-0 to Queensland. The previous one to that, though, was 2000 to New South Wales. So the clean sweeps are like hen's teeth. They really are something to go after and celebrate.
Well, it's because it's usually set up to always be a decider in the third one. The NRL try to do that to make their extra money. As we talked about a few weeks ago, Paul, the amount of money they're going to lose in the dead rubber is not good. So they never want that to happen. So they usually, coax decisions to go the right way. But thankfully,
just twice this century. I mean, there was a draw. Actually, there's been one draw this century as well. Which year was that?
I don't know.
Yeah, pass.
2002.
Oh,
see it. I was too young then. I was all about the Warriors. Going to win their first grand final in 2002.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from anyone, Paul?
No, and that brings to the end my my quick quiz for Origin quiz. I guess just one thing I was going to point out. I don't know whether it's point out or whether it's a question, but looking at the Warriors' next 5 games, they play the Sharks, the Raiders, the Eels, the Rabbitohs, and the Titans. So basically, all the teams that are around them over the next 5 games. The next 5 games is a really important block of games for the Warriors, and then after that, it's all lower teams. They don't have any of the top 3 left to play again. So over the next 5 games, those very important block for the Warriors as to where they'll appear, where they'll finish in the top 8. They're making a big statement. But how do you think it's going to go?
For me, the games that would worry me out of that block would be the Sharks, the Eels, and Rabbitohs. Maybe on the lesser side, the Rabbitohs, given the way that they've been playing. But I think we'd want to jag at least 1 or 2 of those games, and then we're into games that we definitely should be winning.
They need at least 3 out of the 5. Sharks are the one I'm worried about. The Eels, they're always dangerous, but we're playing them that week where all the Origin players are gone. So we are potentially playing them without Mitch Moses. And who knows, you might even get like a Gutho gets a surprise call-up maybe. That would be great.
Eels currently on a 5-game winning streak, by the way.
But they have to play over here, which will be another sellout, I imagine. So, it's hard. It's the cliche. Every game is important. They need to just keep winning. That's with how tight it is in the ladder. They're sitting 2 points away from the 9th place team right now. So, and I think Simon mentioned as well, Warriors games on TV3 on Friday night. Starting 7:30 for a kickoff at 8. So good to see it going on free to air again for those that can't get a ticket to the hottest show in town. But yeah, your question for me, since Paul derailed us, Richie.
Okay, my question for you. With Walsh to miss Origin 3, who would you select to play Game 3 at fullback? Now, I'm assuming what Ponga said that he remains unavailable for Origin to concentrate on the Knights. So, assuming that, what would your selection be there?
It's going to be interesting because that week where all the Origin players miss footy, the Knights have a bye. So he wouldn't miss a game technically if he backs up. So it'd be interesting to see if he changes his whole I'm not playing thing. I'm going to stick that he's going to be a man of his word and not magically come back. And Jacko mentioned the Eels game's in Aussie. My bad. I think Hammer will go to fullback because he's already been in camp. So I think you can do it by you put Hammer at fullback and you bring Dane Gagai back into the centres. Or you leave Hammer in the centres and you bring someone in like AJ Brinton.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I feel like Billy is going to go with someone that's already been in the camp and have to bring in someone who's got experience at that level. He, like you said, I think Jacko mentioned it earlier, Billy will want a clean sweep on his CV. So I think it might go that way. But time will tell. He seems to be a pretty good operator when it comes to selecting a team. So whoever he picks, I'm sure. And yeah, Jacko said Brinson will get in. He's been in camp. Yeah, that might be the best way to do it. Less disruption, just one for one, and keep everyone else the same. Either way, I think it'll be fine. But what about you? Have you thought about it at all?
Yeah, I did, and that would have been the way I would have went. Least amount of disruption. Hammer's been killing it in the centres. Just bring in Brimson, who was 18th man there. So
yeah, which is probably what they're going to do. I just like to see Gagai back. He always plays well in Origin. But
yeah, he does.
All right, my question for you, putting it all on the line right now, Richie, recording for the world. Will the Warriors end the regular season in the top 4?
I think we're very well set up to do so. Just like we were talking about that block of games just a couple minutes ago, I feel like if we win, those tough games like the Sharks, the Eels, etc. I think if we can ice a couple of those games, I think we're well set up to. But I know you're going to want me to spit out rather than sit on the fence, so I'm going to say, I feel like we'll finish 3rd or 4th.
Yeah. I'm going, I reckon they beat the Sharks, Eels, Rabbits. They're a top 4 team. They lose 2 of those games. I think they'll be 6th.
Yeah, that's fair.
And Paul's just making fun of me saying preseason we're talking top 8 and now we're talking top 4. Preseason I was talking 10th.
Yeah,
I had predicted the Warriors as 10th. So it's just going that well. It all depends. Yeah, those are the 3 key games: Rabbits, Eels, and Sharks. So the plus on our side for the Sharks, though, Rich, is Sharks can't beat top 8 teams. So we're in the top 8. So,
and we have a lot of home games in the home stretch.
And we do. We've got a very, I don't want to say soft run. There's some very favourable games towards the end after that hurdle of those 3 games. So as long as they keep winning, and like Jacko said, at least we're not bottom 4. At least we're not talking about, potentially combating for that spoon.
Sack the coach, sack this guy, sack that guy.
Yeah.
It could be a lot worse.
So we'll go into round 18. So we'll talk about the Warriors Rabbits first. If Paul can bring up my pretty little picture. So I'll let you give us our Warriors lineup.
Yep. Fullbacks, CNK, as always. Wingers, DWZ and Marcelo Montoya. Centre pairing remains Rocco Berry, Adam Pompey. Halves pairing remains Luke Metcalf, Sean Johnson. Front row, Adam Fanor-Blake, Bunty Arthur, Wade Egan. Edge back rowers, Jackson Ford, Josh Curran comes in for suspended Niokore. And the lock is Tohu Harris. Interchange bench, Dylan Walker, Mitch Barnett comes back from suspension, Bailey Cernan and Tom Ale.
Yeah, and then for the Rabbits, we've got Black Taff at fullback. The wings, Alex Johnston and Richard Kenner. Centres, Isaiah Tass and Campbell Graham. Halves are Cody Walker and Lachlan Ilias. Front rows, Tavita Totola, Damien Cook and Hami Silly. Second row, we got Keon Kolomatangi and Michael Cheekham. And then the captain at lock, Cameron Murray. And then the bench, we've got Savili Havili, Shaq Mitchell, Davey Mowell, and Thomas Burgess. So we can bring Paul in because this is Paul's left the building. I can see on his little screen at the bottom he's not even there.
That's Latrell Mitchell away from being pretty much full strength almost. That's still a dangerous
team.
It's a very dangerous looking team on paper.
And they'll be hurting after that loss. So it's going to be tough, but I'm back in the Warriors. So I've picked the Warriors here. I think they're on a bit of a roll, packed out house. It's an intimidating place to be on a Friday night. So I've gone with them. But yeah, I'm expecting it to be a bit of a hard battle.
Yep. So I definitely expect it to be a hard battle. I'm picking with my heart, but I think for the first time in a while, the heart's sort of aligning with the head when it comes to the Warriors. So, I feel like at home, in front of a sold-out crowd, I feel like we can get the better of them.
Yeah, and like Jacko said, cut out a few unforced errors and loose passes, then just play our own game, and we beat a struggling Rabbits by at least 10 score. May depend on weather as the weather forecast ain't great. Yeah, weather's not going to be pretty, which is going to be great for myself and Paul, who is finally joining the dark side and coming to a league game.
I've been to a league game before, but it was just a
real one. A real one, not a real one though, not a World Cup game that doesn't matter.
A Warriors game on a Friday night at Mount Smart. It doesn't get better.
Those tickets are gold now. There's people willing to sell their children for a ticket to this game on Facebook.
So we'll be there, and therefore I'm going to get. So do look out on the New Zealand Sport Radio. Have a look at our reels because I'll be getting little videos with Brad at sort of pre-game and halftime with how things are going, and just generally give you a kind of little bit of a kind of sort of video diary of my day up to the game and watching it with Brad at Mount Smart, as you say, for my first ever NRL game.
Yeah, it's something Paul has wanted us to do for the other road trip games, and he's never been able to trust Richard or myself to do videos on our trips, so he's decided to do it himself. There was the Wellington and Napier trips. He was hoping for some footage, and it never happened.
Sweet FA.
It'll be good. Be a good night. And you've got Paul. Come back, Paul. This is the part where you're on the show as Simon. So what did Simon pick for this game?
What did Simon pick? We're going for the Warriors on this one. Look, Rabbitohs on a 1-4 run at the moment of their form, whereas the Warriors on a 3-1 run is the form book over the last 5 weeks. So clearly, Warriors the form team, Rabbitohs in a bit of a slide at the moment.
Yeah, so then they'll take us into the rest of the round. So if you can bring up that pretty slide.
I thought you were going to ask that first before I came back, you see.
No, because we already covered it. So the first game tomorrow night, we've got Sharks Dragons. As always, I picked the team that's playing the Dragons, so I'm going with Sharks.
Yep, Sharks Dragons are going too poorly.
Yeah, look, I mean, the flames from the Dragons isn't going to work in the water. They're going to put that out. So clearly, this is a Sharks win. Look, I mean, also, the Sharks aren't in great form at the moment. 2-2 is their record, but at the TAB, $1.11 versus $6.60 for the Dragons.
Sounds about fair.
So Sharks.
And then the next game was the Warriors Rabbitohs, where we all picked Warriors. The final game on Friday night is Storm Panthers. Hell of a game there. I've gone with the Storm. It's a home game and no Cleary. That's really all I put it down to. You could flip a coin on this one, which is kind of how our tips go anyway.
Yeah, I'm going Storm as well, that's why I'm showing disappointment. I thought you might pick Panthers, Brad, but yeah, these ones are always close, and Cleary not being there might be the deciding factor.
Yeah.
Well, this is clearly the one that's going to bugger up the multi straight away then, because Storm again for Simon here with this one. Even though the Panthers 4-1 and also the Storm 4-1, so both teams in form at the moment. Obviously at the top end of the table, on the same number of points, having played the same number of games, only split on points difference at the moment. So yeah, you say should be a cracking one. If you're looking for the slight edge, the Storm are 6-2 at home, whereas the Panthers are 5-3 on the road. Maybe so. So maybe that's the difference there. But definitely going for the Storm.
Yeah, the first game on Saturday we got Raiders Titans. I've gone with the Raiders. It's going to be an interesting game. Both these teams are kind of renowned at falling apart in the second half, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I'm going with Raiders at home. It's a hell of a place for a team like Gold Coast to have to go play.
Yeah, I was just going to say this could be the worst second half of all time. But Raiders at home, they're normally tough to beat at home.
Okay, so whoever's winning at half time goes on to win the game.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we all went Raiders there?
Yeah, also going for the Green Machine. Raiders 3-2, Titans 2-2. So both, neither of them on sort of both average form at the moment.
Yeah. Next game up is Cowboys Tigers. I've gone with Cowboys. They're kind of hitting their straps now, and they should do away with the Tigers, who are still patchy as always.
Yeah, no Brooks, no Coruscant. Cowboys will want revenge for the last time these two teams met. So Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys. I mean, the second strongest favourites of the weekend, $1.17 for this one. But just remind you as to what happened in the last time these two sides met. Richie, what was the score again?
66 to what did the Cowboys get, Brad? A couple of tries.
I think they got a couple.
Was it 66-10 or something like that? I know the Tigers got 6. Yeah, something like that.
What was it, Paul? Do you know? You got
I'm just searching for it now because I thought you had it. I thought you had told us what it was before. So yes, so one of the few. 66-18.
Oh, 8. See, I knew there was an 8 in there somewhere.
So so the biggest win obviously of the season for the Tigers, so don't rule this one. Maybe this is the multi-killer.
Yeah, maybe. Next game up, final game on Saturday, Broncos Dolphins. I'll go on with the Broncos. No Walsh, but I still think they've got a better squad than the Dolphins right now. Sean O'Sullivan and Jeremy Marshall-King back, which should make the Dolphins better, but maybe O'Sullivan's a bit scratchy after that time injured. But Broncos at home, they should get the job done.
Yeah, no Walsh, no Flegler, no Ricky, so 3 pretty big players out. Think it could be close, but I'm going to go Broncos.
Yeah, look, I mean, Broncos second in the table currently, and the Dolphins have lost half of their games this season in the last 5 games. They lost 4 in the last 5. So, it's going to be Broncos.
Yeah, going for a big multi here. So.
Oh, yes, I noticed that. This is
First game on Sunday, we've got Bulldogs Knights. I've gone with the Knights. I've just got a bit more of faith in them right now out of these two teams. I think the Knights will try to make up for that performance last week with a win here.
Yeah, same here. I know. I'm not going to catch up this way, but I don't have a lot of confidence in the Bulldogs.
You don't catch up if you pick the wrong team too, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, 14th v 15th in the table. If you're looking for one for the lowest quality game of the round, this one could be it, along with that second half showing we were talking about earlier. Bjorn points out, is it an away game? Is it in the Gabba for the
That is true. Every game's a home game for the Broncos, though. Doesn't matter where they play. It's a home game. It's going to be interesting watching the game at the Gabba.
Bulldogs' teeth are just going to get blunted against the armour of the Knights.
Yeah, and then the last game, Seagulls Roosters. I've gone with Seagulls. I know I just tore them to shreds saying they're rubbish without Tommy Turbo, but the Roosters are rubbish. I can't. I got done dirty by picking them last week, so I'm not doing that twice.
Well, I'll go the other way then. This is the game where it'll be different. We can't go for a full house for the multi.
So Richie's going for the Roosters in this one.
Roosters. So there we go. I'm increasing my lead on Richie in the tips.
So we're going for the Sea Eagles in this one, but who are slight favourites, but in two teams in an area of the table that you wouldn't expect them to be in. I think at this point in the season, 12th and 13th, both teams are underperforming for the squads they've got.
So we've got a 7-game multi. Nice.
Wow.
Probably be over by Friday night.
Yeah, hopefully not the Warriors. Hopefully the Warriors don't do it to us.
Yeah. So not as confident in our multi this time. I'll try to, take it back a bit because hopefully that means that we'll get it. But Simon also mentioned before we move on to Super League, Gab is not really designed for rugby league to watch live and whatnot. It's a bit like Eden Park, it's not really a great place to watch, league. But it is what it is with football happening with the Football World Cup. All these league teams are getting pushed aside. Even the All Blacks are getting told to go away. There's our massive multi.
So massive multi, $2 means a return of $29.73 if we do happen to have a miracle this coming weekend.
We're just helping that TAB CEO get another car at the moment. So so that was it for NRL. So we'll move quickly into Super League. Catalans are top of the table with 24 points, followed by Warrington with 22. And then we've got Wigan, Leigh, and Salford all on 20 points for third, fourth, and fifth. So Wigan kind of coming back. They were sixth last week. So they're coming back up the ranks, Richie. But round 16 has come and gone over there. Hull FC defeated St. Helens 34-6. Leeds put the big score. 54-0 over Huddersfield. Hull KR defeated Wakefield 28-12. Castleford defeated Warrington 23-14. Catalans defeated Leigh 38-30. And then Wigan defeated Salford 26-6. Not too many surprises in there for me, to be honest. Just the scoreline for Leeds.
Yeah, that was a blowout.
Yeah, and then round 17 coming up this weekend, we've got Warrington versus Leeds, Wakefield versus Salford, Leigh versus Hull KR, St. Helens versus Castleford, Wigan versus Huddersfield, and Hull FC versus Catalans. So it feels like another straightforward-ish round.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add before we go? Simon's just made a comment saying, why is the NRL giving the AFL money to play in grounds? It's just due to the Women's World Cup. That's why. Because they've got the same reason as the All Blacks are playing at Go Media Stadium. And it's in a couple of weeks, isn't it, Paul?
Also the Auckland Club Rugby finals would normally be in Park, but they're having to move them out to Papatoetoe, I think it is, for that as well. So it's you're not allowed. There's a total ban on anything else happening at these grounds if they're going to host for the Football World Cup. So
which is why that was one of my arguments for why teams facing the Warriors, this would have been the time to bring your home game to New Zealand, but we got stadiums filled up at the moment too with the same thing. But anything else you want to add before we go, Richie?
No, just nice to be back chatting with you guys. I missed it last week. I still got to catch up. I've got your guys' show from last week queued up in my car. I haven't played it yet, so I'm going to give it a listen. But Good to be
Got
back.
to take notes. Got to take notes on how to be a host because Paul knocked it out of the park. So,
He is very good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all from me as well. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on rugby league, tune in to the show next week at 8 p.m. here on Facebook at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Welcome back again, Richie, and cheers for joining us. And thank you, Paul, for all the work you did in the back. And good night, everyone.